This cues up the next topic that we're going to work through, which is testing in the workplace, getting smarter about testing. As a lawyer, one of the most confounding problems that I encounter is analytical chemistry generally. It just keeps getting better and faster, and that causes me a lot of problems. But I want to welcome our two experts here, Unveiled Dave and David Hatch. Unveiled is from Desert Holdings, and David is from Neogen. They're going to speak with us about testing. So please, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to share the podium?
Hi.
Good on chairs, whichever you prefer.
I think just sit on these little stools would be just fine. Hi. Hi, I'm Dave Hatch from Neogen, and I've been with Neogen just for 1 year. I've spent 30 years working in various industries looking at data technology, data analytics, how data can empower an organization. I spent some of that time in information security and how data can be a risk to an organization too. But happy to be here, and thank you so much for having us. I'm joined by Unveiled Dave, who is the Senior Director of Food Safety and Quality at Desert Holdings up here in Canada. Original Cakery is probably the brand that everyone knows.
Yeah. Hello, Unveiled Dave, Senior Director of Food Safety and Quality. I have been with the company for about 10 years. I've been in the food industry for about 16. The company that I work for, Desert Holdings, they have 2 plants in Canada. I'm not sure if you've heard of Desert Holdings or the original Cakery, but I'm sure that you've had the products that we make, because anyone who likes cakes can buy them from outside. Most of them are made by us. We are the largest premium dessert manufacturer in North America. My role as a Senior Director of Food Safety, I look forward, looking at what is coming down the pipeline, what can we get ahead of, and making decisions that is going to continue to keep our products safe. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great, thank you, Anil. So we're going to do something a little different here. This isn't a panel. What I'm going to do is interview Anil, who is leading his company on a digital journey, and specifically in the area of food safety testing and sanitation verification, things like that. And what I'd like to do is start with a couple of slides just to set the context for what we're going to talk about here today. So food safety testing data, it is everywhere, right? And that's the problem. So we're going to get the first slide going here. I like to start with the belief in simplicity, right? So if we go ahead to that next, I think I'm supposed to click, right? Here we go. So we'll go to the next slide here. So when you think about your environmental monitoring, your finished product testing, things like that, I like to think in the belief in simplicity that these tests and the data that we produce from these tests will then be accessible in reports and views. And how many of you have a process where you're collecting your testing data and you have some kind of regular process of doing some analytics on that, showing some reporting, trending, tracking, seeing where your hotspots are cropping up? How many of you have rooms full of 3-ring binders where that information might also exist? Show of hands, come on. It's okay. You're not on camera. There won't be an inquiry later. Maybe manually entering into spreadsheets, right? Yep, I see another hand, right? I see a lot of people raising their hands now. Right. The belief in simplicity, or let's just abbreviate that to B and S, right? The belief in simplicity is BS, right? This is the world we live in, really, right? We have spreadsheets, and we have diagnostic findings coming from the lab in the form of a PDF, and where does that go? And we have all of this data, but what can we do with it? Are we leveraging it? Are we making it accessible to people who need it to make decisions? Are we reducing the time to information between execution of a test, diagnostic result, corrective action, and how is all that working? So we're here to talk about that, and Unveiled Dave has been a pioneer in making an automated approach, a digitized approach, something that is becoming part of the culture of your company. So again, thank you. I'll leave this screen up just to remind us of the world we live in here.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll start with where we were when I started working at Desert Holdings 10 years ago. As David mentioned, we were the same company where we tested something, someone wrote it down in a handwritten note on a binder, then someone took that binder to an Excel spreadsheet, entered it, and then someone else looked at that data and analyzed it, right? We spent so much time doing that. We spent so much resources doing that. About 7 years ago, we ran into a situation where we were seeing significant hits of listeria in our facility. I am not exaggerating when I say that I spent probably 20 hours a day, 7 days a week on the floor trying to figure out what is going on. We did a lot of swabbing, right? But along with all of that swabbing comes a lot of time that someone needs to spend entering that data in a spreadsheet so that then later on I can analyze it, because we were seeing all these hits in a facility that is huge. That's when I realized that I think there is a better way. I can get a faster result. What we were also seeing is that we were sending all these swabs to a third-party lab, right? And they would send the results very timely. And anyone who has worked with me would know that I'm always on top of them because I need it. Now I know what my turnaround time is. So if they say the turnaround time is 30 hours, if I don't have the results in 30 hours, I will be calling them. So they would send results on PDF. Again, same thing, that now someone has to spend time entering it in an Excel spreadsheet. I was losing my patience because it took us about a month and a half to identify root cause. Where was the issue coming from? And then another probably 3 months to permanently eradicate it. I think that if I had the technology that we have now in our facility, I think I would have shortened the time of root cause identification by a lot because of the sheer amount of time we spend doing manual entering of data. That's when I reached out to some of the vendors, Neogen, 3M, I can name a whole bunch, trying to understand what is out there. And then we settled on a technology that worked for us. And that is actually right. I mean, I think that I had a conversation with one of the large software developer several years ago that is a reality. And I think we are still there. When I look at it, I think that we are not out of that. Because everyone likes to do their own little thing individually, and there is no integration that is easy, right? I think that I like to believe that I'm driving my vendors crazy by keep pushing them. I do better. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we are. So I think this is a reality that we still live in.
Yeah. I think this is a good flow from the prior panel discussion now to this discussion we're going from the industry and the entire supply chain and blockchain. Now we're talking about what happens inside a processing environment. And it's one thing to talk about the advancement of technology, and it sounds like your primary objective was to reduce the time to information, time to decision, right? Was there also some organizational changes that had to occur? I mean, this is, like we heard in the prior discussion, there's a lot of fear and risk around sharing of data. You put some of your most sensitive data in the cloud as part of this. Tell us a little bit about how the organizational culture kind of had to change.
So I think someone just before us said that food industry is what I like to call a dinosaur. We don't like to change unless someone else from outside forces us to change. I think the pandemic was one of them. So one of the biggest issues that we ran into was labor shortage, right? I mean, everyone. I don't think anyone in the room would say, nope, we didn't have any issues. We are still struggling with that because people are looking for better and newer stuff. But on top of that, for us as Desert Holdings, I call him my nemesis. We had a CIO that just joined. Now, every software decision that needs to be made, he has to approve it. And I had to convince him. We sat down with the vendors. They had to convince him. And then after those meetings, I had to convince him again that the data is going to be secure. And it's not going to, we are not going to lose it, and it's not going to impact us. So yeah, it was an interesting experience, and I still, as CIO drives me crazy every time when we have to, yeah.
Yeah, well, security is very relevant, and so is data privacy. I mean, you have a lot of different people accessing information and using it. You also have to establish a culture of internal proper usage and so forth. But you'd mentioned headcount and being short. I think everyone can relate to that, right? As an industry, I keep hearing that our teams are continuously, we're short-staffed. We're looking for lab techs, and we're looking for compliance officers, and we're looking for all these folks to join our team. Was there an impact on that challenge when you adopted this technology?
Yeah, so my team knows this very well, that probably I'm the laziest person in a room. If I can get away without doing something, I'll do my best. So you're
very hardworking and diligent on that laziness.
Yes, I
okay.
am.
Yeah.
What I try to do is try and use my resources to make the most of it, because you only have finite resources, whether it's headcount, whether it's anything, my time itself, right? So when we adopted a technology, what I was looking for is that integration between my third-party lab, between our software, between our internal lab equipment, and that software. So what that did is, I'm still not 100% there, because I still am looking for a solution where I'll be able to generate QR codes that can stick to the back of the bag of my environmental swab that can be scanned, and the data is transferred through wherever it needs to go, so my team doesn't still have to enter that multiple times. But what I have been successful in doing is integrate different software. So our internal lab software for equipments that we use, as well as our third-party lab results. So now I'm using my limited QA resources to actually help them spend that time actually making decisions instead of analyzing data. I think that softwares, and our previous presenters also talked about AI. I think we are getting there where the software will tell us what my problem is, right? It's going to help us if we have teams that are going to now understand what needs to be done so that we can eradicate that problem, so we can actually do something more productive, right? Problem solving is fun only for so long, right? So I think that for us, when we were going through pandemic and QA techs, we were trying to hire so many, and we would lose them every 6 months, and so on and so forth. Allowing this technology to help us integrate some of these steps and reducing what I would call manual labor in data entry helped us a lot.
Great. Thank you, Anil. And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking, seems to me like you're thinking about some very specific situations at Desert Holdings and at Original Cakery, where I know that this journey started from zero, and tell us a little bit about like what are the scenarios that have occurred and what are the new learnings.
So as I was talking about I think it was 7 or 8 years ago now, we hit this situation where we were having multiple listeria hits. At the same time, our company is expanding exponentially, and I was short-staffed. So as I said, the reason why I was spending 20 hours a day, every single day, working as part of the time I was actually doing a QA tech job, because I didn't have enough people. I still needed that data to be entered in an Excel spreadsheet, so then I can further better analyze it instead of just going through pages of handwritten notes and try and understand what that means. That was the day when it was like, because as I said, you can't find a lazier person than I am, so if I have to keep doing this, I can't imagine my team having to do that again and again. And I also saw how many errors could be made when we were doing that. So all of that combined, me having spent, I'm not exaggerating, oh boy, I probably aged most of my hair losses from that time. That was a wake-up call for us.
Great. For everyone here, everyone's at a different point in their digital journey, right? Some of you are investigating, some of you might have adopted systems for automating environmentals and product tests and so forth. But you're in the midst of this journey, and you've been adopting and you've been kind enough to experiment on some new things with us. What would be a takeaway? We were talking earlier, you had a great piece of advice for me, but what would be from this whole experience now in the years you've been involved, what would be a takeaway to share with the room and as they consider their
I think that one of the biggest thing for me working for a private equity firm, one thing that I've learned very quickly is that unless you attach a dollar value on what you're trying to achieve, the likelihood of you getting approvals for a food safety or quality software is this big. So I think that it's a very easy way to get approvals from your senior leadership saying, okay, if I do this, I'm going to be able to save this much because I'm not spending so much time data entering. Other than that, I think one of the biggest advice is push your vendors. Don't just take what they're giving you, right? I think what we were discussing earlier today is, and this is one of my pet peeves, this is a personal pet peeve. I have yet to see a software that is seamless enough and user-friendly enough that I can just take and give it to anyone. Like, I compare food safety softwares to Facebook app or Amazon app. If you needed a 1-day or 2-day training to use a software so that you can go and buy something on Amazon, I mean, my wife would be very happy because I wouldn't be spending so much money. But at the same time, I think that most of those businesses would go out of business in like 24 to 48 hours. I think for you should be looking for that. I know that all of our partners, I drive them crazy with that, saying, okay, no, there needs to be a better way. I don't have to go click 10 times to get to the bottom of it. So look at that, look at your options, and don't just take the software that is off the shelf that someone is giving you that may not fit your business model. There is always a better way.
I will attest that Anal puts us through our paces as one of your vendors. All right, I want to leave some time for Q&A, but just one last thing to share, and I wanted to share these slides. This was a vision we painted for you when we started out about 4 years ago. We showed you this vision where we kind of represent the walls that are standing between these different functional areas of your food safety testing program. And we call them data silos. and it limits visibility because the connectivity and the relationship of sanitation verification, your environmental testing, your product testing, these should be tied together. And the vision that we paint is this should work like your operations work, right? And we should be able to see where these have a cause and effect relationship with each other. And so we're endeavoring and we're working with folks like you to unify this data together, but to do so in a way that is more user-friendly. And it's not easy, I'll tell you. I mean, you told me before this event you were going to be blunt and mention that, we're not there yet,
No.
but we're getting there, right? So this is the objective that we're having. And at Neogen, what we're trying to do is work with industry and understand how this would be meaningful, how would it be most useful for you, working with people like Unveiled, who has so graciously lent his time. Any parting thoughts before we go to Q&A?
I think that for us to be good at food safety, one thing I've learned very quickly is that we also need to be good at showing how that is going to save our company's money, right? The moment you attach dollar values to how what you're doing saves so much money, your life becomes so much easier. And one of my personal challenge when I first started as a QA manager 10 years ago was that, because I was good at food safety, but translating that for senior leaders, how can I show it to them that, okay, I need that thing, but I'm not going to have a solid return on investment until you started showing cost savings, until you started showing things that you're going to prevent by having real-time data. Think about that. Don't only think about, oh, I'm going to save a recall, because preventing a recall is important, but that shouldn't be the goal why we do things, right? Do
you have an example of like a hard dollar savings example that others might be able to take back and think about?
Yeah, so and I'll talk about, quickly talk about this, when we were pitching this idea to our senior leaders, our CFO, he said, okay, so what is the ROI? And for me, it was simple. I went back and I analyzed how much time my team spent doing data entry, right? I took that time, and then I said, okay, along with that, I also need someone to create a listeria heat map, which takes so much time if you're doing it manually, right? So I took all of that time and said, okay, so if I'm paying a person this many dollars an hour, I'm going to be saving a lot of that time by going to a software. I ran numbers. In our company, we would have had ROI in about 9 months. So it was a no-brainer, right? So the moment I showed them that, okay, I'll pay for this software in 9 months, I had no pushback from anyone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Anal. Any questions for Anal or for me? Not seeing any hands raised. Okay. Well, if you do have any thoughts. Oh, Sarah has a question.
Sure. Oh, sorry. I thought I was getting 2 microphones. Okay, my question is, so basically is what Neogen creating a limb system? Is that what you guys created together?
Great question. Not really, although there are some of our customers who consider it to be that, because it is handling some of the things that a LIMS does, like scheduling your tests, executing on the swabbing, entering the collected information into a LIMS, or simply organizing that information so the diagnostics can be run, and then translating that diagnostic data into triggering your alerts, triggering your SOPs and policies around corrective action. So it functions somewhat as a LIMS, but it's not doing the Some of the LIMS are sophisticated and they tie into your ERP system and they're doing a lot of the cost accounting and supply ordering and things like that. We don't do that. So it's partial yes.
Okay, and then for the program that you've created, is it, if another company was to use it, is it out of the box, or would there be some configuration, or is it vanilla? Like, would we just be able to
I'll
use
let
it?
you
out of
handle
the-
that one. Yeah.
So it is out of the box, but implementation, the way we have done it is, yeah, you would still need to spend some time first gathering the sites that you want to add. Gathering initial data takes some time. Also, this is not anyone's day job, right? So you're going to be doing it as fast as your schedule allows. So for us, it took us, I think, 3 months to fully implement it. And then, as I was telling him earlier, and then probably another 2 or 3 months ironing out all the kinks. But yeah, it's pretty, once you have it implemented, it's pretty self-explanatory and system works very well.
Okay, and sorry, just one last question. Does the system have a name? Like, if I was to follow up with you afterwards, I'm looking for this program or this system?
I swear she does not work for Neogen. And thank you so much. Come on by the Neogen booth and we'll explain it all. It's called Neogen Analytics, and we can show it to you over there. Sarah, did you have a question? Yeah.
And I think she actually took most of what I was going to ask,
okay.
because kind of the buzz I've heard around me is, what is the actual solution? So we've heard a lot of what you solve for and what the ROI could be, but what is it that you're actually doing?
Yeah, think of it as it's workflow automation. So look at your testing program and all the manual steps, right? Identifying where you're going to swab, scheduling that, assigning that schedule to a tech to do the swabs, collecting that information, sending a SARF to the lab, whether you have an internal lab or you use a third-party lab, getting the diagnostic results back, and then having those results, if needed, trigger your corrective actions. That whole workflow is something that can be digitized, it can be automated. There's about 36 manual steps if you're doing it manually, and we reduce that to about 6 steps when you automate it, right? So that's that time savings that Anil's referring to is that piece. The second piece is now you have all this data, right? Every swab you've collected, every test you've run, every device that you've used, every diagnostic result you've gotten back, what does that look like now as we start to understand trends? We can see it on a heat map. We can see it on the actual floor plan map. We can start to see how, in your case, how listeria is behaving and how your testing program is eradicating it, and how effective are the measures that you're taking. So as you change those measures and as you try new things, you can see whether or not it's having an impact visually and in, I won't say real time, but in near real time as that cycle continues, right? So that's what the technology is actually doing. Thank you. We have a question in the back.
But this project is very dear to me, and Anil knows this. And Anil said something in this meeting, and probably he said, push your vendors. And if we are here in this point with Anil there, talking with David, is because a few years back, in a Teams meeting, Anil came and said, you know something, I like this, but come back to me when you're going to have the LM1 integrated. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And today, I guess we are 2 years after, we have AcuPoint integrated. We have LM1 integrated. We have PPRA integrated. We have not one module for Neogen Analytics. We have 3. Because I think the reason why Neogen is in business is because we want to listen to you. You know, when we come and we bring you swabs when you need it, we hear when you need us to do integrations, and I think only together we can bring the future in the industry and grow together and be better in what we do. So thank you so much, Anal, for pushing us, and thank you for bringing us where we are, and we hope to grow with you guys together. So thank you.
Thanks, Deanna.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. If there are no more questions, in the minute and a half remaining, I would like to ask you to just indulge me for a moment in something personal. I'd like to introduce you to someone. I'd like to introduce you to Blueberry. Blueberry is my granddaughter's little blue elephant. Yesterday morning, as I was getting ready to fly from Boston up here to Toronto, she handed me Blueberry. She was over visiting us, and she asked me to, you can see Blueberry on the screen there. Hi, Blueberry. She asked me to take care of Blueberry and take some pictures. So I have been. Blueberry was in the Uber. Blueberry was on the airplane. We were down by the Toronto sign down the street here. We took some photos, and Blueberry got tucked in the hotel room. And Blueberry was over at our booth helping me set up this morning. And now, if you would all indulge me, would you all take a selfie of Blueberry with me? Would you? On the count of three, would you,
I'll join in.
and Anal, please join in. Would you say, "I love food safety," and wave to, hold on, I gotta get my hand out of the way here. Okay, whoops. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Come on, give a big wave. Thank you. I can't tell you what a hero I am going to be to Magnolia, so I thank you for that. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Thank you, I know.
Yep.
That was excellent.